Crawford and Chuck McBarrett.
Be sharing with Deputy Paul Murphy and Deputy Richard Boyd Barrett.
Agreed.
There are 4,000 children in emergency accommodation. Where is Minister Owen Murphy? He should be here for this debate. Fine Gael politicians, Fianna Fáil politicians and the capitalist market are responsible for blighting the lives of thousands of young children here. That's no exaggeration. The Royal College of Physicians report found that a child in emergency accommodation is more likely to be bullied, less likely to see their friends, more likely to have asthma, more likely to have an infectious disease, more likely to have poor nutrition, Minister, more likely to be obese, twice as likely, Minister, to be hospitalised. They noted what they called clinically significant levels of mental health and behavioural issues in 40% of the children. Minister, there are 3,873 children in emergency accommodation. 40% of that equals more than 1,500 children. And it gets worse. This morning we read that 119 child protection notices were made to Tusla by managers at emergency accommodation centres in the first 8 months of this year. More than were made in the entirety of the year from December 2017 to December 2018. Of these 119 notices, 52 were for emotional abuse, 28 were for neglect, 26 were for physical abuse, and 13 were for sexual abuse. These figures underrepresent the number of children at risk of harm in homelessness services, as they only represent the cases covered by mandatory reporting for the managers of the centres. Minister, these horrors are directly related to the policies being pursued by you, Minister Owen Murphy, and your government. For example, I could give many examples, but to give one, you have been offered the chance, Minister, time and again, to support a policy of banning evictions into homelessness. You know that the majority of these children were previously in private rented accommodation, and that such a policy change would have spared them from the horrors of homelessness. But you chose, Minister, you chose not to support such a policy. You chose to defend the property rights of the landlord class rather than support the rights of vulnerable children and to support the greater good. Minister, I ask you with all sincerity, how the hell do you and Minister Owen Murphy sleep at night? I'll conclude by making 2 appeals. The first appeal is to the voters of Cork North Central, Wexford, Dublin Midwest and Dublin Fingal. Do not give your votes to the parties which have allowed nearly 4,000 children to be homeless in this state. That's Fine Gael, who lead the government, and Fianna Fáil, who've propped them up all along the line. My second appeal is to the general public and to working class people in particular. Join the protests in Cork and Dublin on December the 5th to protest homelessness in this state. We need a total change in housing policy, and to get that change, we need to start with tens of thousands of angry people on the streets.